He is the 2021 world champion in pommel horse. He is the 2023 Pan Am champion, gold medalist in pommel horse.
How about stories?
And we tell stories and we roll with the flow. He is an alum of Dancing with the Stars. He is a graduate of Penn State. We have a Nittany Lion in the room somewhere. And he is a multi-medal winning Olympian from the 2024 Paris Olympics. He is our guest today, Stephen Nedoroscik.
Hi, hello. Hi again.
So good to have you. Please.
So good to be here.
We're going to give you that one as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
So I met Stephen, on the first floor of the museum about 15 minutes ago. I have questions. I don't know that we're going to need them. Let's see how we do. But we're going to jump right in.
Amazing.
Right? Amazing. You're amazing. You're the Paris Olympics, right?
Yes.
Pommel horse guy. You had one job. Right. Take us inside that. Take us inside what your experience was to have that role on the team, and to know that the team was counting on you. Tell us what that was like.
Well, I guess it goes back a little bit further to that preliminary competition before the finals. One of my teammates just had one of his off days, and it put us in a really weird seed, which meant that we ended on pommel horse. It was not what Team USA expected. And for me, being the guy who always ends on pommel horse, knowing that I had to end pommel horse and potentially have that medal, on the line when I go and do my routine, it was a stressful competition to walk into. But that entire day was absolutely bizarre. You warm up for about a couple hours, then the meet starts, which takes a couple hours. So I warmed up my event, and then I had to sit for about 3 hours or 4 hours or so before I could even compete. So those nerves really build up over time. But luckily for me, I just had the greatest team surrounding me, the greatest group of guys that were able to keep the energy loose and fun. And when it was my turn, I'm sure you guys saw it online, I sort of did my... and I locked in, and oh my goodness, guys, the feeling of just being out there representing your country on that stage is like no other. And let me say this really quick. After that routine, I was able to raise my glasses up, and these are the actual glasses from the Olympics. I wanted to bring them for this. Huzzah! But no, it was really the most amazing feeling in the world.
Amazing. So thank you for sharing that great energy. I'm going to change the energy just for a moment. We were commiserating earlier. Many of us watched the men's figure skating final last night. You carried the weight of that pressure, right? And those nerves, and you had an outstanding performance, and that doesn't happen for every athlete. Tell us about a time when you had an experience that, you weren't your best, and how do you come through that?
Well, I mean, first off, my heart goes out to Ilya. That was just so heartbreaking to see, along with the other athletes that didn't have their best competition. But I've been there, and I think most athletes have been in that position where you feel ready, you feel like you're going to be on top of the world. And when that time comes, things just don't sync up. And for me, that was in Liverpool, 2022 World Championships. I was the first specialist to ever make a world team, which was an amazing, huge honor. But oh my goodness, we just could not figure out that pommel horse. And we ended up starting on pommel horse. And I just had a pretty rough routine where it was just a fight, and I tried to stay on, and it was not easy. But the thing is, and as all these athletes at the Olympics that didn't have the performance they're looking forward to, we can internalize that and learn from it. So as much as it hurts in that moment, I was able to really pick apart what it was that happened at that competition and what it is that I can change going forward. And that was in 2022. 1 year later, I was at Pan American Games, and a year after that, I was in Paris. So, these things happen. It's just like any other part of life. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to stumble. But it really does. The only thing that matters is how you pick yourself back up, I think.
Yep. What a great lesson. What a great lesson. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course.
Yeah. So at the Olympic Games, or really any elite competition, we all watch it on television. We think we understand. But of course, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Give us a few insider tips, if you will.
All right. Well, I'll tell a funny story about athletes, just maybe not me. Athletes not knowing what they're doing. The first day of Paris Olympics, we started on pommel horse, and I was just locked in, getting in my zone. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be an Olympian in 5 minutes. Like, you compete,
Awesome.
that is like, you're Olympian now.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to get my job done. I want to make that team final. I want to make that event final. So I was just really focused on my routine and my performance. And then it was my turn to go. And I'm standing up on that podium. And I realized I didn't know where to salute. And I looked, there's a TV here, a TV there, a light there, and a row of judges up there. And I'm like, uh-oh, which one is going to be the thing? So it's like this video of me. And I remember seeing a Twitter post where it was like, wow, he's so locked in. And it's me like squinting, looking over here and looking over here. And the reality of it is I just didn't know where I was saluting. No, there are so many logistical things behind the scenes of the Olympics, you know, like even just like for us as a team, we would have these moments like on vault where we just sit there for 20 minutes waiting for the rest of the competition to finish up. And it's like, what do athletes do during that time? Well, us being the sort of goofy gymnasts that we are, we played charades. You know, it's like, it really is. That's the type of stuff that happens behind the scenes, behind all that pressure and those TV moments. We really are just humans.
That's really great. That's really great. So you've mentioned your team twice now. Tell us about that, right? The team is selected from among athletes across the country. You aren't lifelong friends necessarily. Tell us about how you come together as a team and really form that bond.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we make the Olympic team at USA Olympic Trials, which happens roughly 1 month before the games, which meant that we were able to start our relationship as Olympic team members pretty early compared to a lot of other people. But you know, when you do go to the Olympics, you actually head over there about 3 weeks before the competition even starts. We ended up going to a place called I forget what it's called. Don't worry about that. Different place in France, where we were there for about a week, and it turned into, you know, not only workouts but like a really good team bonding exercise, and we kind of learned each other's like competition language. Like, how is it that I want to approach my teammates, and also just like how can we chill together? And you know, we did become lifelong friends and brothers through that journey, and there really is something special about having that shared experience, I think.
Wonderful, wonderful. Who were the gymnasts that inspired you to get into the sport and continue to pursue the sport up into the elite level?
Yeah, I mean, I always have a different answer than most of my teammates because growing up, I really just loved doing gymnastics. I didn't really watch gymnastics or look up to people necessarily. Of course, there's Tim Daggett, who was in the area with me. He was a rings and pommel horse gold medalist. So there were these inspirations, but in my head, I always just wanted to be better than I am now. So I kind of carried that momentum throughout my entire gymnastics career. And although I was a little bit in over my head with like how things actually worked, it somehow miraculously all tied together. And I got to college, and then I made national team, and soon enough, the Olympic Games.
Amazing, amazing. Tim Daggett was here with us just in July as part of our celebration of the new Hall of Fame induction.
That's amazing.
So pleasure to have him here at the museum as well.
That's so cool. I loved him.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. Well, your competition on Dancing with the Stars, your sort of natural ability and presence as one who entertains, in addition to being an elite athlete, you've done so much to raise the profile of the sport and particularly your apparatus, right? Your specialty. Talk a little bit about how you think of yourself as an ambassador for gymnastics.
You know, I always have said to my teammates and coaches, because we've always had this question, like, how can we make this sport as big as it was in the 70s and the 80s? Because it used to be popular and there used to be hundreds of programs. Now there's only 16 NCAA programs. Wow. So it really does just hurt to watch it kind of get smaller and smaller throughout the years. And one of the things that I always said is like, you need someone to represent the sport. And I don't think I am that person, to be honest with all of you, but I think I'm kind of close to that person, at least for pommel horse. But you know, one thing that I felt so honored by with all the publicity I did receive was being able to give that spotlight to gymnastics, and people actually learned pommel horse. And not only pommel horse, some of those people stuck around and started following my teammates and kind of keeping up with the sport. And that's kind of like the thing I love the most about what I'm doing, is being able to just spread this love for the sport with other people and having them also be able to enjoy it a little bit.
Amazing, amazing. And so, where are you looking forward to seeing the sport go in the next, let's say, between now and LA? What are you looking forward to?
Well, that's not a lot of time,
No,
but
it's not. Yeah.
me and my coaches down in Sarasota, we have an amazing program going on, and we have a lot of national team guys down there, and we have this dream of getting that gold medal in LA.
Heck yeah.
And we have some pretty dang good gymnasts coming up in this country. So keep an eye out for them because it is definitely a possibility.
Amazing, amazing. Well, you've also talked about your experience competing as an athlete with low vision, right?
Yes.
And so in this museum, of course, one of the things we pride ourselves on is the accessibility, removing barriers so that everyone can experience our museum in the same way. Talk a little bit about your sense of your role as an ambassador for athletes who are approaching the sport with differing abilities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, there's a lot of people out there with glasses that feel like maybe I just can't do the sport because my vision isn't as good as my competition. And, I always think about that. And I'm just like, that just really hurts to hear because like I think most people, even with vision problems, are capable of just as much as anybody else. So being able to kind of be this ambassador for people that have these vision issues, especially me, because I'm cross-eyed, I have a rare disease called coloboma, and generally my vision kind of sucks. It really does feel good to sort of be that inspiration for some of the kids growing up. And I have had some of those little gymnasts and parents reach out to me about just how much it means to them to see someone with glasses up on the stage.
Outstanding. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And you've toured this museum, our U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Museum. What do you think of the museum? Why do you think it's important for us to exist and steward the stories of great athletes like you?
I mean, look, the Olympics is always going to have amazing stories. And it would be a shame if any of those stories got forgotten or weren't told. And I think that this museum, more than anything, helps to keep those things alive. And I absolutely love the museum. And personally, I can't wait to maybe try out some curling later here.
Sheets up, if anybody doesn't know. Curling sheets up. So terrific, terrific. And in that light, those glasses that you held up just a moment ago, I understand that you are very generously making a loan of them to our museum so that we can put them on display with your signed Rubik's Cube.
Yes, 100%. I really want you guys to have them. I really, really do.
We're honored to have them. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the conversation. Yeah. And to all of you now, what questions do you have for Stephen? And my colleague Tommy has a microphone. Hand up. Yeah, Jamie. And we'll just invite you to wait for the mic, Jamie.
Hi, great to see you and have you here. I was wondering if you kept in contact with any of your past teammates and or kept active in the gym and got on the conference, those kind of things these days?
100%. Great question, first of all, and thank you for asking. I do keep close contact with most of my Olympic teammates, and in fact, I actually am training for LA 2028. Woo-hoo! So, thank you. So I am training pommel horse. I did just have hip surgery 4 months ago, so I've actually just this week made some really big progress in my recovery. So thank you.
Outstanding. Barbara.
I'm your fellow Penn Stater.
We are.
Penn State.
Yes.
So you talked about your experience at Penn State and how that helped you become who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we have to rewind a little bit to high school. Believe it or not, I was not a very good athlete. I was one of those guys that didn't get any official trips, any official visits. I just emailed some colleges and saw what happened. But my decision to actually go to Penn State came down to my club coach. I asked my club coach, I said, hey, look, I'm having a hard time making this decision. Penn State, Illinois, Ohio, they're all great schools with great gymnastics programs. Which one do you think would do best for me? And my coach actually told me, he said, well, you're a pommel horse guy, and Penn State has always been known for their pommel horse, so I recommend going there. So that's why I ended up choosing Penn State, and it was the best time of my life. I miss it. I'm actually going to be visiting there in just a few weeks because I miss it so much, but I had the best time, and I still talk to those coaches all the time.
And what's it like being a college student in an engineering program, but also training and competing at that level, right? That must have been not easy.
I look back at it and I don't even know how I did it. I mean, it really was just a grind. I have a degree in electrical engineering, so there were some times where I was juggling far more than I was capable of, but I somehow graduated.
Terrific, terrific. Yes. Wait. Okay.
How did you get in the finals for Dancing with the Stars?
Good question.
Whoa!
Good question.
This is actually, first of all, thank you so much for asking. That is an amazing question because, to be honest with all of you, I was one of the only people on that show that had zero dance experience, and I don't even know how I made it to that finale. Look, it took a lot of hard work, and believe it or not, it was very similar to how I trained for the Olympics. Every week you'd go in, you'd grind, you'd hurt yourself. But then it was time to put on that competition face and go out there and just perform and enjoy the moment. And something that I thought was amazing about dance was it isn't as serious as gymnastics, and it's okay to make those little mistakes and kind of have fun with it. So the real answer to your question of how I made it to that finale is I enjoyed every second of that process. And then through that, I was a little bit more successful than I could have been otherwise. Great question. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm really enjoying listening to you and the answers you're sharing, Stephen, because they align so deeply with the work that we do every day to advance the Olympic and Paralympic values, which of course you live and model. So it's just really wonderful to hear. Who else has a question? Oh, yeah, terrific, Charlie.
Thank you for being here.
Thank
So
you.
at the Olympics, athletes from all over the world, all these crazy sports. Was there an athlete or another sport that you just went, wow, this is really
Yeah.
I mean, look, LeBron James was there, guys. And Simone Biles is there, and Sunisa Lee. It's hard to not be a little bit starstruck when you see these amazing, phenomenal, on top of their game athletes. I'd have to say seeing LeBron in person is probably the athlete that made me go, wow.
We got Tommy getting his steps in this morning. Thank you all.
Hi. I
Hi.
have like 100 questions. I won't ask them all. But if I could ask two, that'd be great. One
Okay.
time I asked them though.
Absolutely, you can ask two.
Valentine's Day, you know? Okay, so is there any specific meditation that you did or that you love, that you listen to all the time? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, music definitely helps me calm down. But when I'm at a competition, I don't necessarily have accessibility to music. So what I've learned to do is called box breathing, and it's something that I learned way early in my college career. And it's just a way to sort of control the controllables, is what we like to say as athletes. So when you are excited, you get sweaty, your heart rate goes up, and you get jittery. When you're nervous, it is the exact same thing, right? Like your nervous system does the exact same symptoms. So the way that I try to reframe the competition is to do box breathing, to control my heart rate, to take it down a notch. And I also, in my head, tell myself, like, this isn't nervousness. You are jittery, you are sweaty, your heart rate's beating, and it's because you're excited for this opportunity in front of you. So I think just being able to reframe and control those controllables is the best thing you can do.
That was beautiful. Okay, now my question. Who is, besides like an Olympian or a sports player, who's the celebrity that you just like totally fangirled over that you've met?
Okay, this is actually a funny story. When I was at the Olympics, my hype music was Childish Gambino's new album, right? Donald Glover, awesome music. And when I was recording with Dancing with the Stars, me and my partner Riley, we went out to get lunch. And at that time, a lot of people would come up to me and ask for photos, and I'd always give them their photos and a little bit of a conversation. But this one day, this guy walks up to me and he was like, "Hey, are you the Olympian, the pommel horse guy?" And I was like, "Yeah. Like, do you want a photo?" And he goes, "No, I just wanted to say thank you for the shout out to my album." And my heart sunk, and he took off his sunglasses, and I was like, "That's Donald Glover." Oh my God. It was amazing, but that was the moment for me when I was like, holy.
Okay, that might be the question of the morning, folks. Thank you for that. But let's see. Who else has a question for Stephen? Yeah.
I don't need that microphone.
Yeah.
So,
when you're done with your career, what are you gonna do with gymnastics after that? Do you wanna start a nonprofit? Do you wanna work with kids?
I mean, that is a fantastic question. And those are things that I am currently thinking about. One of the things that I really want to do when I am done with my gymnastics career is I'd like to find a way, and the way I'm envisioning it right now is almost like a book or an online tool. I want to be able to give what I have learned in gymnastics back to the community. You know, I want to be able to somehow write down every single lesson that I've learned on pommel horse or other events or just in life in general, just to be able to give back to them. On top of that, I've always thought about owning a gym, and I've always thought about being able to host my own competition. So those are the types of things that I want to do regarding the sport. But regarding like a professional career after the sport, I do have a degree in electrical engineering, and I got to say I've always wanted to be an electrical engineer. So I plan on nerding out when I'm done.
Well, if you take those lessons and put them down in a book, we'll be delighted to sell it here in our museum store and to feature you and your book on our virtual reading club legacy library. So
Welcome
Annie
to the
will-
business
Annie will be in
meeting,
touch about
everybody.
that. Who else? Yeah.
So I'm curious, given that you wear glasses and you didn't wear them on at the event, what have you had to learn how to adapt around for the pommel horse, given that it requires you to be able to see it, that maybe is specific to you that looks weird to other people?
Great question, because I mean, it is weird. I go around my whole life wearing glasses, and then when I compete in the most important moments of my life, I take them off. That makes no sense. But the honest answer is, when I was growing up, I used to compete with my glasses on. But as my gymnastics got bigger and the skills got harder, the glasses started flying, and you can't have that. So I ended up just learning how to compete without them. And some of the weird adaptations that I made throughout that process of maybe not having the best vision out there and not wearing my glasses is I really hardly use my sight at all on the pommel horse. A lot of guys will look at the equipment where they're placing their hand, but for me, I kind of don't focus on where I'm looking at all. It's like I have this ability to sort of be one with the pommel horse, if you will. And it really is just kind of feels like an extension of my body, whereas a lot of my teammates, they will look where they place their hands, and I don't have to do that. So it is a cool adaptation, and that was a great question.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to any kids or really anybody that wants to be kind of the top athlete in their field or sort of the best at what they do?
I mean, I always tell kids like dream big and don't be scared to mess up. I think a lot of kids are scared to make mistakes out there. Whether it's your club competition or an upgrade or just being out on that field or something, like a lot of kids will just get nervous and think I'm going to fail my parents, I'm going to fail, we're doing all these classes. I think finding that love for the sport and the passion to do it and always just trying to be 1% better every day is all you have to do to achieve those dreams. She's solving the Rubik's Cube right now.
Yeah.
Also, thanks for being here. I really enjoy your commentary. But a lot of people who go to the Olympics, they trade pins as souvenirs. Do the athletes do similar things or change shirts or exchange things as souvenirs?
Yeah, 100%. So for me, I actually had a Penn State teammate represent Canada. So we actually were able to swap a shirt for a shirt with each other, but the pins is a big one. Everyone loves to trade their pins. Me personally, I'm just way too socially awkward to approach people and ask to trade pins. So I ended up with a pretty big pin collection. No, but it is actually it is a thing. Even like some athletes will go there with their own pins that they design in order to trade them, which I think is the coolest thing ever. Yeah.
Did you get the picture taken with the artist
Yes.
on the album?
Oh yeah. I asked him. I said, "Hey, look, man, can I get a selfie?" He said, "Yes, you can." It was the coolest.
This is more of an ask than a question. Just like if before you go, you'll give us a Rubik's Cube solving demonstration.
Oh, is that what everyone wants to see?
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, then I think I have to. Let's do
Excellent.
it.
All right. All right. We'll do that as we wrap up. I love it. I love it. Other? Oh. All right.
Hi, Stephen. Nice to see you again. Took you guys when Asher and Brody and Fred were here back in December a couple years ago. I saw you then. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You mentioned parents just a second ago when you were talking about the kids. What impact, what was the role, and what was the response of your parents, getting you started, and then when you won, how did they respond? What did they say to you?
I mean, they are so dang proud of me, and it makes me feel so amazing every time that they just open up about it a little bit and they go, look, we watch that video once a week at least.
Oh,
and
amazing.
Of course, yeah.
and we are so proud of you. It makes me feel so amazing. But my parents were phenomenal growing up, because a lot of these athletes' parents, they can be a little bit overbearing and a little bit pressure on their children. My parents, they were just very, very supportive. If I messed up, it was never a you need to fix that. It was a hey, it's okay, this happens. And I think having that sort of around me growing up made it a lot easier to compete.
Do we have any other questions for Stephen?
I got one question that I have my loud tour guide. Can you tell us a little bit about your time in Colorado Springs at the training center and living in town and how much time you spent there in the Springs?
Yeah, absolutely. So on national team, we have 2 or 3 national team camps a year here in Colorado Springs, which is always a fun trip. But we do it right over at Colorado Springs, and it usually is kind of like the busiest week of the year. We're pretty much packed all day with really helpful things, whether it's mental health resources, nutritional resources, or even just our 2 workouts a day with our strength and conditioning coaches or our director. But I love coming down here, and the only thing I could ever complain about is how dry my lips get.
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair. Yeah, thank you, Kathy. And George.
Yeah, I just have a comment to make. We really appreciate you being here. And as an advocate for the museum, it's really special for us to be able to talk to our visitors, if you will, about the artifacts that are here and the stories behind them. And getting to meet you, for example, and hearing the stories that you told kind of brings it to life. And I don't know how many athletes really understand the value of how important some of their mementos to the museum are. And any way you could spread the word to other athletes to get them to contribute, we love to tell their story.
And I love to hear that, because I do know some of my friends are just like, I wonder if they'd be interested. I will tell some of my buddies about what you just said right then. Absolutely.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well done, George. Thank you. And I think that we're good on questions. Am I understanding that, Tom? Here?
Yes, but we have a Rubik's Cube.
And we have a Rubik's Cube. So here it comes. Here comes the Rubik's Cube.
Right? Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Now for my non-cubers, as we're called, out there, typically you look at it for about 10 seconds and then you go for the solve. So if you guys want, actually, I'm just going to give myself a countdown and then go for it. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh. Bang!
Wow.
Let's go!
Wow.
Let's go!
Wow. How long do you think that took you?
That was probably a 15.1 second solve.
Okay. Anybody count? I counted a little higher.
I was hoping someone timed it.
Okay. No, congratulations. That was fantastic. That was fantastic. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in thanking Stephen.
Thank you. Oh, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. And Stephen is now with us to meet each of you, sign an autograph, take a photo.